Yeah, I believe we're good to go. All right. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I have 7:01. I'd like to call to order the 2054th regular meeting of the City of College Place City Council. Will the clerk please take roll call? Yes. Councilmember Bobbitt.
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland.
Present.
Councilmember Peterson.
Present.
Councilmember Selby.
Present.
Councilmember Sherman.
Present.
Councilmember Trope.
Present.
And on phone, Councilmember Nyhagen.
Present.
Thank you. We also have City Attorney Colwell, Administrator Rizzatello, Finance Director Carlton, I believe, will be joining us. I don't see him yet. City Engineer Gordon, Deputy Clerk Holm, myself, Rhonda Gould from the Walla Walla Rural Library, and Public Works Director Hartwig. All right, thank you. I do believe that Brian's not going to be here today. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, I just received contact from him. He just left the Spokane area.
Okay. He's not able to join in.
So he officially received his citizenship today.
Nice. Okay. That's so exciting for him. Are you going to present that item then, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now's the time. Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
nation
under God,
under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Councilmember Nyhagen would like to say a few words to start us off.
Can you, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much that we can do this meeting. Please bless our mayor as she leads us and help us to do the things that is best for our city. And we ask this in Jesus' name and thank you. Amen.
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 Thank you, Marge. It is now time for public comment. Did anyone submit a comment or arrange to speak? They did not. Okay. Then let's move on to the consent agenda. It consists of approve agenda for June 23rd, 2020, approve council minutes from June 9th, 2020, approve the check register and financials for May 2020. So is there a motion?
This is Councilmember Sherman. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Tropa, second.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Is there any discussion items? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Can I ask a quick question there?
Yes, please.
Lisa, do we need to sign those check registers?
I will be getting those out to you. I had held off because I thought we were going to be able to have in-person meetings, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. So I will send those out to you and have you individually, 3 of you individually sign them like we did in the past. And so those 3 that received it last time, are you good with doing that again?
Yep.
All right, I will do that.
Didn't we approve electronic signatures? Would that apply for that too?
Yes, but we have to get, well, we are going, it's on the agenda for today.
Right.
And then we have to get the software decided on and in place.
Understand. Thank you for that.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, we already voted, so the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Okay. Next on the agenda is library update from Ms. Rhonda Gould. Rhonda, you're up.
Okay, thanks everyone. I'm glad to be here tonight. It's good to see all of you again, Council. While we wait for level 3 to become part of our vernacular, we are working at the branch at Meadowbrook to get ready to open. We have quite a few things ready to go, and I am still fingers crossed that our opening date can be on or around July 15th. And that of course will depend on level 3 and whether or not we can let people into the building space or not. If we get to a point before then, there is a good opportunity that we can do some curbside service there instead of having College Place residents go to Plaza for their curbside service. We have a lot of new materials in the branch. I don't know if you took the opportunity to go take a peek in the window or stop by when someone has been there. If you haven't, please feel free to do so. We have, I'm not quite sure on the exact number of new items, but I think at this point about half of the collection is brand new and has not been seen yet by anyone other than our staff. So that that collection is ready for the city's residents. We're pulling some items from all of our other branches to flesh out the rest of the collection so that it's balanced and there's a good selection of titles for everyone. We're working on imaging the computers for staff and for patrons this week. The computers should be installed by the end of this week. And also we will be getting a telephone line in this week. So by the end of this week, we will have a phone installed and we'll be able to start publicizing that telephone line. At the same time, we have what I would call not necessarily the last minute things, but I would say probably the finishing touches on things that need to go in. We have a large whiteboard that is going in the meeting room. We have a bulletin board that locks for announcements and things like that for the hallway. So if someone from the community asks us to post a flyer, we can do so, and we can lock the cabinet so that there's no worry about having anything torn off the wall or anything like that. We will also have cameras installed, security cameras in the building. There will be 1 in the meeting room and then 2 in the main part of the facility. Let's see, I have a whole bunch of notes here yet. Work is progressing on the catalog. I think I wrote in one of my last articles for the city's newspaper, or the newsletter, that the catalog is, the items are in the catalog. We've come up against a little glitch with the catalog because what we have is what we call a carrel, and that is just the listing of different locations for the items to show up. So when our lists are populated, they are designated one of the spaces within the carrel based on their location. And we have a ticket into the help desk with our catalog vendor. We're hoping and we think it's a quick fix, that somewhere along the line, somebody just forgot to check a box when they were doing the paperwork for that. So I'm hopeful that that will get taken care of in the next week or so. We also have a College Place Library Branch Facebook page, and we're posting a lot of information up there. Pictures, there's a couple videos. I have some staff that have been working primarily since we've been quarantined and not opened yet. They get together every Monday and develop a schedule of Facebook posts for all of the branches. And they've been doing a stellar job putting together different things. If you've noticed, for different books, whether it's a real life book or if something like if you've seen the movie, now read the book, that kind of thing. I have 3 or 4 staff that have been working on that for the last few months, and they're doing a really good job on making some great postings for us. Let's see, we have, I've talked to City Administrator Mike Rizzitiello about becoming a distribution point for the personal protective equipment that is received by the city. So look for some more information on that as that the time for that is approaching. And I will close with a statement that we are pretty much down to staffing. We do have someone hired for the branch manager position. That's Chessa Grasso Hickox. And I've written a little bit about her in the city's newsletter. She is a recent Walla Walla resident. She came here a couple of years ago from Helena, Montana. And she has a master's in library science from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. So she's been a really good addition to our staff, and I really think the community will like her and like the things that she has going in the community. And once we're able to do programming, I know she's anxious to do programming, we'll get going with that, but she'll be a really good asset for the community. We're looking at ultimately closing Plaza sometime this fall. So our plan right now is to move some of the Plaza staff over to College Place and get them cross-trained, as well as get them used to working at College Place. So that is pretty much my report for now. I'll have Chessa with me the next time I attend. And like I said earlier, our plan was to have us give you a little virtual tour, but I've been involved in American Library Association meetings for the last 2 days. So it's, we never got our collective act together to make arrangements for this. So my apologies for that. If anybody has any questions for me, I would be happy to address them at this time.
Well, not seeing any questions. I do want to, and it's funny that you brought it up, because I did want to compliment your staff on those Facebook pages.
Oh, thank you.
I really,
Very much.
I have been seeing them, and I really like the way they're grouping them by subject matter, and they're making suggestions of what kind of books, if you like this type, you'll love these ones, or, you know, and they've been making them appropriate for what the current times, you know, there's talk about gender identity. There's some talking about the current state of, you know, of race. And so I found it very relevant, and they've done a very good job of putting those together. So please do share my compliments with
Thank you.
them.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Ms.
This
Gould?
is Councilmember Selby. And I just wanted to ask, is Facebook the only social media that you have, or do you also use Instagram or TikTok or some of those?
We have an Instagram account, and I believe that is tied to our primary Facebook page.
Thank you.
And we are getting I don't know what you'd call it. It's software that's linked to our catalog, and it's through our catalog vendor that will allow us to send out email reminders to patrons. It'll allow us to send out branch-specific newsletters. So look for that coming. We don't have it yet. It's a brand new product from our catalog vendor. So I think they're still working on the last minute tweaking of that. And as soon as we get that, we can start overlaying our data into it and training staff on using that too. So we'll have probably a lot of email coming your way.
Well, we're excited to get it.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
And I hope you've taken advantage of our curbside service. We started curbside last week and that's going really well. And we also have summer reading program, which is online. You can sign up online as well as track your reading online. So, and there's a new service that we've gotten this year called Beanstack, and that is the app that lets you log what you've read and track all of that, plus keep track of any prizes that you've earned. And there's a website for that as well as an app. So if you have not looked at our summer reading program webpage, please check that out too.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. You're welcome to stay, but I imagine you probably have a full plate.
I have a couple things I need to do.
All right. Well,
still trying to catch up from not having an office manager right now. So
yeah, understandable. Yeah. And
all right,
sympathies for that as well. Truly.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rhonda.
And if you have any questions, please stop by the branch. I think somebody's usually there between noon and 4, or come by our office and talk to me anytime.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. We do have a public hearing scheduled for tonight on the 6-year transportation improvement plan. And I believe Mr. Gordon's going to present that.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, you're familiar with this process. Every year we come back to you around June 30th or before June 30th, and we present our 6-year transportation improvement plan. This is a state mandated requirement. We actually introduced it at the last council meeting. Really no changes since then. It's a plan that is broken in the way we do it into actually 3 sections. We have a 6-year portion of it, which is really kind of what we really think is coming up, a 10-year part of it, and then a long-term plan portion of it. But in the fine print, and I mentioned this before last meeting, we have the flexibility to be able to move those projects up or down on the list depending upon the availability of funding. So that makes it pretty flexible. Not a lot of change since last year. We'll draw your attention to a couple items. We have added the post office crossing. That's new since last year. And then if you look down, 12, 13 items to the Majanya Road College to Clarence, we're actively pursuing funding right now for the design part of that project. So those are some pretty exciting developments. The rest of the projects are there, and as we're able to find funds for them, we plan to move forward on them. With that said, there's not a lot more to add except for this is a public hearing. We did go out to give public notice on June 7th and the 14th, so the public will be aware. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Any questions for Mr. Gordon? All right. And there's not any. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. At this time, I will open up the public hearing. Did anyone submit to comment or arrange to speak?
They did not.
Okay. Are there any items for discussion? Nothing's come up. Okay. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion items? All right, all in favor of closing the public meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The hearing is closed. Thank you again, Mr. Gordon. Okay, now we'll move on to some action items. Well, Mr. Gordon's going to present the first item, the 6-year transportation improvement plan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is deja vu. Same thing we just talked about in the hearing. Nothing new. Just this is a list that we'll be looking at in terms of for funding. We have to have this list in order to be able to get funding through a lot of our agencies. So it's a really important element of our planning process. I guess I would say that I'm pretty pleased. We are seeing a few delays in terms of projects, but in general, over the past few years, we've been pretty successful moving forward on improving our streets, and we're not stopping. We're moving ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 20-025, adopting the city's 2021 to 2026 6-year transportation improvement plan.
This is Councilmember Selby, second.
I think
All
that
right.
would be.
All right, we got a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Now's your chance to ask questions. All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, next, Ms. Colwell will present the electronic signature policy discussion.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me?
Barely.
Usually people say I talk really loud. From the last version that you guys got to see, we updated a little bit to add being able to notarize documents electronically. I think that's something that we have to do with some of our dealings, have those notarized. Fixed a few typos, but unless anyone has any questions, it's basically the same policy that was presented to you at the last meeting. And my recommendation is that you adopt it. Any questions?
All right, no questions for Ms. Colwell?
Councilmember Peterson, there's a comment, maybe I read it. What is the software for this? Was there a discussion of software earlier?
We haven't decided. I think Lisa mentioned that they're doing research into what's the best platform for the money.
Yeah, okay.
Lisa, do you want to comment on that?
Just in the beginnings of researching. So if this is approved, we'll do that much more seriously.
Yeah, thank you.
And the policy gives flexibility to the city, to the clerk, the mayor, and the administrator.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, is there a motion?
This is Councilmember Sherman. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 20-026, implementing an electronic signature policy for the city of College Place.
Second, Councilmember Jerry. Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Mr. Hartwell will present the next item regarding the purchase of the screw conveyor screen.
Hey, thank you, everyone. At the treatment plant, the first screen is a screw conveyor. This will be the second or third, at least 2 times, if not 3, that this screw conveyor has been jammed up, and the torque that's created on that, as you can see on the pictures, it rips and tears that metal. That metal is a 1/2 inch thick, and the torque is extremely strong. The frustrating part is about this is that we used to have what they call a muffin monster or a grinder ahead of this, which ground up all the solids and anything that would come in and take care of that. Ecology required us to remove that. And now we're having these problems. Again, this is second or the third time, I can't remember, but the top 3 or 4 feet got jammed up with wipes, disposable wipes. They are disposable. They just, it's just not something that should be disposed of down the toilet. They just collect on the sewer flow and create large strands that jam this stuff up. We're looking, I asked for permission or authorization to expend 40,000 because I didn't know if the gearbox, which was jammed up as well, would need to be replaced. Right now, they were able to get the one end of the screw conveyor out of that, so that I think we won't need to buy that. We won't know exactly how that's going to operate until we get it hooked up, but it's on order. This is an emergency thing right now. There's forced overtime on weekends to come in and clean the bar screen at least 2 times a day. So it's about 8 weeks out. And so we said, go ahead and order it as an emergency, but we want to come to you for authorization. You can see in the pictures that I included in this, the damage that was done. I'd entertain any questions.
Councilmember Cleveland, I'm a little curious about the reasoning behind the college you had for having us remove the grinder.
The reason they had us removed is because the grindings, if you grind it beforehand, then it gets into the biosolids. It's all in relation to the biosolids. Biosolids by the state regulations are deemed beneficial use, so you can't just take them to the landfill. So you have to use them. If we have a grinder ahead of that, then all that grindings gets through and gets into the biosolids, which can contaminate your land application process. So it's just, one or the other.
Councilmember Trope, another question, if I could.
Yes.
Is this an issue with COVID because people are using wipes to clean up, or is this a chronic thing that's?
This has been, we have these wipes ever since they made and started advertising the disposable wipes. We've had this problem. It's not only at the treatment plant. We'll be at the lift stations and we'll have to pull the pumps and clean those because of those. They just won't, they just clog up the impellers on the pumps. So it's not a COVID thing.
Councilmember. Oh.
I'm sorry. I thought Councilmember Bobbitt was going to had a question.
Yes, I have a question, but I'm still formulating it.
Okay. Then we'll move on to Councilmember Selby and then Councilmember Peterson.
This is actually a question for, I think, our mayor and city manager. Do you think it's time for us to do another education on the wipes? Because this is a problem at treatment plants all around the world. And the only thing that seems to help is education. Nobody's ever managed to pass a law that says you cannot call these flushable.
Right. I'll let Mr. Rizzatello answer that question.
Yeah, I'll say what we did with that. So as soon as Paul told me the situation at hand, that we actually filmed an informational video and then put it on YouTube and on the webpage and stuff like that. And it actually got a lot of coverage on my Columbia Basin and the UB. So people did see that. Thanks to Troy for filming it. Because Troy's also on the phone listening, and then also Paul for filming it. But yeah, we filmed a video on this. I will also add that how we're gonna pay for this is, since it was a situation that transpired during this COVID emergency, that is a qualifying expense with the state pass-through COVID grant dollars. So we'll be able to cover it that way.
And I will comment that Paul did an excellent job in the video. You need to watch it. It's quite informative. It really is.
Thank you.
I will look for that. And I also wanted to let you know the King County Brightwater has a really pretty cool education campaign aimed at school kids. And we might be able to steal some of that if working with our schools.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson.
So, Paul, this happens you spoke of people coming in on the weekend, your staff coming in to clean that impeller. Is that what they're cleaning?
They're cleaning the bar screen. Since this doesn't work, it hits another bar screen. That's about a 3/4 inch bar screen.
Okay.
And they just come in to clean it.
And so to clean this, to clean this screw drive is probably hard to do, or can't do, or.
Well, I mean, it's operational, and by the time we know there's a problem, it's too late. And then we get an alarm, and then we come down there and it's broken.
So it's not necessarily an accumulation. It could be
Yeah, it just depends on how much, if it gets all entangled and you have a strand, like the last time it was about 9 foot long strand of these disposable wipes, and it just wouldn't break it.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
So I'm assuming it's not visible until you pull it out to see what happens?
We don't know until it gets jammed in there, and then we get the alarm, and it's too late.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Bobbitt.
Paul, are there any other styles of lifts besides a screw lift that would still move the waste products without jamming so easily?
Well, we're looking at that in the wastewater treatment plant upgrade to see to review all the screening possibilities that there are. Right now, this was I think this is a good process, other than we got these wipes right now that are the issue.
Yeah, it'd be nice if there was another method of moving stuff up that could handle. Education would be nice, but it sounds like it's an ongoing problem, and maybe another method might resolve that issue and not have the breakdown problems.
Yeah, and that's at the treatment plant. We still got the issues at the lift station. I'll give you an example, a personal example. We were on vacation at Wallowa Lake, and one of my relatives was staying in our basement. We have a trash pump in there, and they used one wipe, and that trash pump, I got called and had to come home to fix that. Just one wipe in a trash pump just clogged it up, and we had flood. So
they're like you need a wipe diverter.
Yeah, they just don't break.
I take it that relatives no longer welcome.
Oh no, they're fine. Those things happen.
Are all your relatives accounted for?
Is there any opportunity to talk to like the Walmarts in town and get them to stop selling these?
I suppose they could be talked to, but I mean they're really popular, and a lot of people don't throw them down, but once they do,
it's Costco and everywhere too. Right?
Yeah. My understanding was that Spokane tried to outlaw them, but then the people would just go to Coeur d'Alene or outside the city limits and buy them.
Can you use like a positive displacement pump in this application instead of an impeller? Or a screw?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm reviewing all the options with engineer.
Okay.
All right, great questions. Any others? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
I move to approve purchase of a screw conveyor screen from Parks Incorporation for amount not to exceed $40,000. That's Councilmember Selby.
Second, Councilmember Peterson.
Councilmember Cleveland, I'll second.
We have a first and second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you, Mr. Hartwig.
Thank you.
Okay, since Mr. Carlton is not here, Mike, are you going to do the next presentation?
Yeah, I'll cover it the best possible. With what you see here, this is one of the grants and loans we
I don't know if
went
this is
out-
just me, but I just lost sound.
Oh,
I can
I can hear it.
I can hear it.
okay. So this is one of the grant and loans we went after to go construct the Southwest sewer. And as you recall, that's the lift station and sewer we need to basically augment capacity for South College Place, south of 12th Street Hill, as well as the McKiernan Christensen development site that we annexed a couple of years back. So with this offer, basically, it would be for $2 million. The offer entails a $1.7 million loan, about 2.5%, and then $300,000 grant with the first payment due in 2023. And presented this before the CURB board, and that's a state agency where you present all the economic development components of it, and then there's about 20 people that grade you, and then they decide right then and there if they will fund it. Was broadcast on the TVW channel, and we did get it funded, so that's great. So that's why this is here before you all. One of the main reasons we're pushing this through now, though, is because we need to get the initial offer of financial aid back to them by July 6th. Because actually, if it wasn't for that date, I probably would have pushed it a little bit, because the thing is Brian and I have been very successful with USDA rural development, and I don't want to jinx myself, but we actually may get a larger percentage of grant from them, but we just need this approved this council meeting, and we'll hold on to it. And if the USDA one doesn't come through, we'll turn this into them. But yeah, we're doing really good assembling the financial puzzle of this to really make this lift station and trunk line a reality.
All right, great. So do we have any questions or comments? I don't think Ms. Selby's back on the line yet. Councilmember Bobbitt?
I don't have any issues with the funding in the grant, but I have a question about, is this lift station going to have similar problems of this screw lift that we're currently having issues with? Or is there flexibility in this for looking at other possible designs that might not be so susceptible to damage from wipes?
Paul, isn't that screw lift component, isn't that mainly at the wastewater treatment plant? Isn't it mainly pumps and so forth at the lift station? Oh, where's Paul?
Paul is left.
What do you got?
Oh, he's here.
Paul.
We're just wondering if the lift station it suffers from the same problem with wipes as the.
Yes, we have the same problem with the lift station as well as wipes, with the treatment plant with those.
With a new lift station.
Yeah, so the question is, will our new lift station have the same problem?
Possible, yes. It'll be, we'll be looking at screening ahead of that. And I think the advantage is we're buying, we're speccing out a certain type of pump that we installed at the Homestead lift station that clears debris out a lot better. So we're hoping that will take care of the problem.
So there's flexibility in this financing then for looking at maybe some better options for the equipment that won't have the issues that we're currently seeing with the treatment plant lift station.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, the biggest difference in the lift stations are between the lift stations and the treatment plant is the flow volume. That's a huge deal.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Peterson?
Mike, I guess a question with this loan, potentially this new loan, was this considered in our rate setting structure? Or I know you guys are taking a look at that again, and we've had this discussion a couple of times. What are your feelings as far as covering this cost with our current structure?
So I will say at a lower construction cost, it was considered, although it was like a couple of years ago. Since that time, cost has gone up. I will say where I feel better about it, where I feel better about it though, is that see. Hey, can you hear me? It's like, okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So as far as where I feel better about it with that USDA R&D application and then the port grant, I feel that that's going to offset the differential in pricing. So I don't feel it's going to be as dire as it would be. But again, one of the tasks that Brian is working on, just because our models do need to be renewed, is updating the 3-year models, because we have the spreadsheet that's just augmenting for the next 3 years. So I mean, again, we're waiting on the USDA R&D to hear about that, but I feel enough of this is coming together where it should offset the increase.
No. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Councilmember Selby, are you back with us? Okay, it doesn't seem like she's
It's
back.
on and off, but I
Okay.
have to have my video off in order to get it at all. I don't know what's up with my internet tonight. Sorry.
That's okay. Just wanted to. So are there any other questions or comments?
This is Councilmember Cleveland. I'd like to motion to approve resolution number 20-027, which accepts the CURB initial offer of financial aid for the Southwest Sewer Trunk Line and Lift Station project.
This is Councilmember Sherman, I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All of those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you. All right, Mr. Rizzatello, you're going to be up again. To the next item.
Okay, so really these next 3 items, they aren't set in stone, but these are just resolutions of support for grant applications that we are turning in. So this first one is through the Washington State Department of Transportation pedestrian and bike grant. And what this would do is basically work on reconstructing 12th and Larch to a roundabout. A couple of years ago, we actually did a planning study that was paid for by the Community Economic Revitalization Board. And what that suggested was that in 2018, to go to the flash stop signs, which we did, but it also said that by the time 2023 would hit, that the traffic counts would be such where another solution would be warranted. And what that study suggested was moving toward a traffic circle. So PBS, they made like a faux example of what it could look like. And the concept here is basically to go to Department of Transportation, see if we can get money from them for it. The request would be around $2 million, and it would be to improve the sidewalks, the pavement from like Sky to Dewey, and then put in some pedestrian street lamps as well. So that's what this grant is for. And what I'm trying to do in tandem, it'll come in a later meeting because this grant isn't do for a while is we also want to go to Transportation Improvement Board for a grant to basically reconstruct 12th from College to Sky. So basically a big corridor improvement. So this is just a resolution of support, no commitment.
This is Councilmember Selby. And in the attached report, I saw that it said roundabout or stoplight.
Yeah.
And generally, roundabouts actually do not improve pedestrian safety. You can make it work, but they're not better for pedestrians particularly. So I'm wondering why. I mean, I can see some reasons for a roundabout there, but I'm thinking it might be a stretch for the pedestrian and bicycle grant, I guess is what I'm saying. Whereas a light would be clearly an improvement.
Well, the reason I thought that it would fit this is if you look at the previous projects that the Washington State Department of Transportation funded in previous bienniums, a lot of them actually were along this line of the traffic circles. So it looked like we had a good chance at it. So that was why I thought it would be a good fit. Not to say we could go the other route. Some of the concepts when this was being discussed, like Economic Development Commission, for example, is if you did put a traffic circle, and sometimes during the winter, there was a feeling that some of the traffic coming up the hill on Larch occasionally gets stuck waiting for traffic. And if you had a traffic circle, the traffic could ease in. So those were some of the discussions with some of our advisory boards. So based on that, and then also what WASDOT has historically funded in previous bienniums, it looked like it was an okay fit.
Excuse me, that's helpful to know. I also share the concern about coming up from Larch during the winter. I mean, coming up from like the Walmart up 12th during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
At a traffic circle roundabout as well. It might be worthwhile to explore like a right turn lane there or something, so that to relieve a little bit of that pressure, or at least see if we can do something about the grade so you're not really steep right at the intersection.
Okay, Councilmember Bobbitt.
Which intersection are we talking about now? Because
Larch
Larch
and
and 12th is not steep.
Yeah.
That hill's a quarter of a mile away.
I really do not like the idea of a roundabout at that location.
Me either.
Even with the winter concerns, the stop signs have alleviated a lot of the problems there. But I hate these tiny roundabouts here in Walla Walla. The one that they have on Tieton, that's miserable. And this one's going to have to be a tight one too to squeeze it in between all those properties there. I think the 4 stop signs work much more efficiently than a roundabout would. It doesn't really gain you a lot as far as traffic flow. Way too tight for that intersection.
Totally agree. I live right there, just north of that. And I gotta say that you rarely have to stop more than one car at that intersection.
At the four-way stop?
Great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, was the comment you never really have to stop there at the stop sign more than 2 cars?
What I'm saying is when I stop at that stop sign, there might be a car in each lane even, but it's not sit there and wait. Once we put the 4 stop signs in there, that became a great intersection. Most parts of the day, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
I must travel there at different times of the day than you.
Yeah.
Be there when Walmart has their sales.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, another option too, just because while this money is still available, because this money they've allocated essentially before that 976. So, I mean, if we are to do any improvements with state money, now would be the time. I just want to throw some out there. Given that report said that it was either that or a stoplight, would a stoplight be more conducive, or do you just want to leave it as is? Because I'm just looking as there's outside money available. If we were to do something, now would be a time to do it before that dries up. So I just want to throw that question out there.
Councilmember Sherman?
I thought, and I know that you kind of touched on this, that they've redone their projections, but I thought that when we put this in, that one of the options was going to basically leave it as a four-way stop instead of needing to make any other further changes. It was an idea or maybe a dream or a hope or something. And so, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that if we have the money for something, it means we have to do it. But I guess I'm curious, did they really redid their whole study? I don't remember that coming up or screen for that.
So basically, as we were working through the initial intersection studies, when we put the flashy stop signs up, they were about basically halfway through the study. By the time the study was complete, stop signs were already up. And then if you look at that chart, basically it said like an either or analysis by the 2023 of saying that based on the traffic volumes, they were recommending a traffic circle or a stoplight there. Much like with Whitman Drive and Larch, for example, up there, they just recommended a stoplight. And with C Street and Larch, they said that was perfectly fine. So that was what was in the final report, the either or.
So have they looked at it again to make sure that now that we're a couple years in, that those projections are correct?
Well, I mean, we'd have to pay for that to essentially look at it again. That was a private consultant that did that. That data was basically wrapped up in 2018. Yeah. So,
okay, I'm not opposed to a roundabout. I think I'd prefer that over a light, but
yeah.
Councilmember Peterson, you were going to say something?
The roundabouts, I'm not sure if this compares to the size of the one on Titan or not, but I think we're seeing those throughout the valley, and it's a personal choice thing or preference, but it's so nice not having to stop and just flow on through, especially in weather and not have cars backed up. Many times when I'm pulling up there at certain times at 5 coming in, there's 20, 30 cars backed up Walla Walla direction, on 12th Street. And so I know, anyway, and Mike, to your point, this is to see if we get the funding. It's not necessarily a for sure deal if we get it.
No.
Right. So no. It's not a, yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Bobbitt.
Having driven roundabouts in Europe, they designed for it and it does provide efficient flow, but when they're so tiny, I think we're better off with our stop signs. And this one, because of already established properties, you don't have the real estate to really make a roundabout that would really keep traffic flowing smoothly.
But
way too tiny. You're much better with that short stop and moving through the intersection than you are trying to navigate the roundabout. And again, being so tiny, it's hard to time your flow on something that small as far as keeping traffic flowing. It's almost like it's so tiny, there's a car there, you're going to have to stop anyway.
I think there's a potential, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but there could be an expansion of that roundabout into outlying areas, property. We'd have to purchase the land.
Basically there would be a small amount of right away, like a little bit along Larch on the Village Adventist Church side, and then a little tiny bit of the corner by the HOA sign. And yeah, this was something we were looking at for a number of years, because this has actually been for the last couple of years within the adopted capital facility plan, which is done as part of the budget. So,
Mike, I have a question. What was this? Is the point of this to improve pedestrian safety or to increase traffic flow?
Well, honestly, I view it as a little bit of both, because I mean, part of it is the pedestrian, also bicycles, and then also traffic flow. So I mean, I view it as a multifaceted thing. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to make a comment, and then Mr. Bobbitt, I'll call on you. You know, also having that corner and living on a four-way stop on Larch, I do see that even at the four-way stop, many cars just kind of roll. They don't really stop. They slow and roll. And some go when it's not their turn, if they see a car coming, maybe perhaps this way, this one's gonna go real fast anyways. So my thought is cars aren't really looking out for pedestrians or bikes, they're looking for other cars. So if we're looking for pedestrian or bike safety, as much as it slows everybody down, but I think that would be the point, lights would be more optimal if we're actually talking about safety. That's my 2 cents. Mr. Bobbitt?
I think I agree with that opinion, but roundabouts, again, you see how far that the crosswalks are around that corner, and cars are going to try and make that corner as quickly as they can, and all of a sudden there's a person in the crosswalk. You're not going to have the visibility of pedestrians or bicycles. Like I said, that roundabout is way too small.
Mr. Peterson?
You know, I'd remind everyone too, though, the safety of these. I think it was with the down on Military and 9th, you do not have cars running red lights and T-boning cars in these intersections either. And so there's an element of safety, of course, in roundabouts. People not running red lights and whatnot like that. So that is completely avoided.
This is Councilmember Cleveland. I might point out that that property on the southeast corner is going to have to rather have an upgrade to their driveway. I would hope that it wouldn't be too invasive for them or problematic. I mean, it would be what it would be. I would lean a bit towards a traffic light myself at that location. There's already a couple along that road, you know, 12th and College, Myra and 12th. You know, and again, I'm not really super opposed to any, but I would just lean towards a traffic light.
Okay, I saw Mr. Bobbitt, and then I saw Councilmember Sherman.
Yes, I think this particular one, especially that right-hand turn from Larch to 12th, coming up the hill from Walmart, that looks like quite a wicked turn. The one from 12th to Larch, actually, yeah, 12th to Larch, that's a little broader turn, but I don't know, it just doesn't look like a smooth flow. And I think it does not improve safety for bicycles or pedestrians.
Chief, tomorrow.
That intersection every single day.
Chief Tamaris is in the meeting and has his hand up. I believe he's got some input.
Yeah, good evening, Council and Mayor. I just wanted to throw from a traffic safety standpoint, actually, roundabouts, according to Department of Transportation, are 75% have 75% less injury collisions than traffic lights or stop signs. Additionally, they're a lot cheaper to maintain for cities and governments each year, a huge savings actually. So those are things to look at. There's been a lot of studies that have been done out there, and I would definitely endorse a roundabout.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sherman.
That actually answered my question. I thought that's what I had read when we were looking at this before, that these were a little bit safer, and I kind of prefer that when there's no other cars that I can scoot on through and not have to wait for a light.
Sure. Chief Tamaras, are you still there?
I am.
Okay, so one of the concerns that Councilmember Bobick is bringing up is the size. From what you understand, is there anything relative to the size of the traffic circle?
I haven't seen nothing about studies on size. I have seen some pretty poor designs. Someone mentioned Titan. That is a poorly designed roundabout. I do believe that there's adequate room for a robust roundabout there that's designed well with curbing and pedestrian crossways. It's really about the design. And if we put the time into engineering a quality roundabout, I think it could actually increase traffic safety in that section right there. And something else to think about too in the winter months. And another member mentioned, I apologize, can't remember who it was, but traffic on Larch in the snow or ice tends to back up down that hill. And this would definitely help with that as well.
Okay, Councilmember Sherman.
So if I'm reading this correctly, right now what we're deciding tonight is if we're going to support the grant application. So we can apply for the grant application and kind of work on fine tuning what we want to do later, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing to note here is that the map was just conceptual. This isn't really like engineering. It's like a cartoon. So, I mean, really, this was just the resolution of support to support the grant application because I'm on the Legislative Affairs Committee for Association of Washington Cities, and it looks like after this biennium, grants from that ped and bike, safe routes to school, all of that is going to be harder to come by. So given the fact that there were still money allocations within this, I was just trying to plug in what we could to see if we get anything.
Okay.
So.
Okay, City Clerk Nysel.
Councilmember Selby is on the phone. She sent me a message that she would like to speak.
Okay, Councilmember Selby.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm sorry, I don't seem to have the raise your hand button that I can find, and my internet is all wonky, so I can see you, but I can't hear, but I can't be on the voice. And I would like to reinforce what Councilmember Sherman said, that we should apply for the intersection without applying for a specific design. And also, speaking as an engineer, Chief Tomarson is right. It's all in the design. And what we have here technically is a traffic circle, not a roundabout, because there's no merging. And the thing is, everything's a trade-off because roundabouts have more accidents, but they're fender benders as opposed to traffic lights have fewer accidents, but they're much worse accidents, much likely to be an injury accident. So as the chief said, there's fewer injury accidents at a roundabout. I'm not sure how much data there is around the traffic circles, frankly. So anyway, my point in all this rambling is I definitely think we should go for the grant, but I think there needs to be a little more work done on what exactly the intersection is going to look like.
And I would just note that within the grant request, this request wasn't just for construction, it was for full engineering as well. So So with the grant, we would be able to do both engineering and construction. So I mean, this drawing before you was merely spaghetti on a wall to illustrate the point based on that previous study. But I mean, really what that intersection would turn into would be determined if we got that grant, because then you have money to do something.
Mike, just to make sure that we're all clear, you can apply for the grant, or we can apply for the grant without being specific of what we're going to do at that intersection.
I can reword it, just saying that we would be essentially implementing strategies to improve like pedestrian and bicycle safety and so forth. I could word it in a vague term.
Okay, do you think that will decrease our chances of getting it?
I mean, it very well may, but I'm also of the opinion that while the money is there, we should try to get it. So I mean, I think it would still be it would still compete well because of the traffic counts over there, because that is actually one of our higher traveled intersections. Like there's legs of this that actually have better traffic counts than College Avenue, believe it or not. So,
well, I expect as construction goes, it'll just get busier.
Yeah.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, I'd like to move to approve resolution number 20-028, which authorizes the City Council support of a grant application to the Washington State Department of Transportation, WSDOT Pedestrian and Bicycle Grant Program to fund reconstruction of the 12th and Larch intersection.
This is Councilmember Sherman. I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Do we have any questions or comments?
Do we want to remove 12th and Larch specifically from that and something more generic? Maybe these funds could be used for Whitman and Larch or some other spot that needs it.
I don't.
No, I think we are specific for this corner.
Yeah.
12th and Larch.
Councilmember
This is Councilmember Selby. 12th and Larch has been on our radar for a long time, and so I agree that it's time to ask for it. And as I recall, Larch and Whitman is one of the ones that's on our list, but further down.
Right.
Correct.
But I found Larch and Whitman harder to maneuver through than Larch and 12th at this time.
Interesting. Okay.
Well,
the blind spot as far as coming from Whitman, from the Home Depot side. It's a very bad blind spot for trying to check for traffic there.
Well, I think we are expecting if the villages at Fort Walla Walla go in, that they're going to help with that intersection, correct, Mike?
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that I would argue. So the Larch and Whitman intersection, we have the opportunity for quite a bit of developer help there because initially with stop signs, the villages can contribute with that, but also keep in mind that that residential and commercial side that's in essence to the east of that development, they would need to contribute developer fees as well. So I mean, there's a major proportion of that where we really are going to be able to assess those improvements on the developer. The part that curb study identified is that really with 12th and Larch, you don't really have as much of that development going that close to it. So, I mean, we could tangentially do an argument about development further away, but really if we do anything at the 12th and Larch intersection, a lot of that's going to fall on us, where the Whitman and Larch, we could assess that on the development community.
Councilmember Selby, do you have anything before I move on?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right. The ayes have it. The motion is passed. Great conversation. Thank you, everybody. All right, Mike, on to the next one.
This is another ped and bike grant, and this would be just to improve a crosswalk. And this would pay for engineering and construction. So they would do an assessment to really see what would make it safer. And this is the crosswalk in front of the post office. It's utilized quite a bit. I can speak from experience both on a bike and a pedestrian and driving. It's hard to see people crossing over there. And I will also say it was flagged by our insurance carrier that also needed additional improvements just because of the safety issues. So that's what this grant would cover, basically engineering and construction to make that crosswalk in front of the post office safer, because in general, from like engineering terms, usually crosswalks mid-block aren't really encouraged, but on the planning side of the coin, that is one of our activity nodes along our downtown corridor. So it's one of those things where whether you like it or not, people are just going to naturally cross there, even if there wasn't a crosswalk there. So it's more so the question of how to make it safer.
Absolutely. All right, questions or comments? Ms. Caldwell.
Usually when I come to City Hall, I drive right there by the post office. And it is, you have to pay attention, but definitely when the jiu-jitsu guys are coming out, it's very distracting. That's my comment.
In general, or when they're crossing the street?
I'm a happily married woman.
Well, as someone who has been both a pedestrian at that crosswalk and a driver, I have both been where I had to stop because cars just kept going. And I'm also was that car that didn't see the person at the crosswalk because they're kind of behind parked cars. So they really kind of have to stick out before you see them. So it really is not a safe crosswalk. Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to move to approve resolution number 20-029, which authorizes City Council support of a grant application into the Washington State Department of Transportation pedestrian and bicycle grant program to fund improvements to the crosswalk in front of the College Place Post Office located at 500 South College Avenue.
Second.
Great. We have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, Councilmember Selby, I just want to make sure because I don't want to leave you out.
No, I'm fine. I agree with everything that you said.
All right. Then all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. All right, next, Mr. Rizzatello.
This is a Safe Routes to School grant. And this is a resolution of support for a grant application to go build sidewalks. So last year we received a preliminary engineering grant to go look at key roads that needed sidewalks, like a prioritization dealing with safe routes to school. And some the roads that were examined, some of our local ones were Northwest B Street, Southwest 8th Street over by the Village Church Community Center over there, because there is sidewalk in front of it, but then there's a gap from that part up until College Avenue. And then Southwest 2nd, between Academy Way and Davis, that's a bit of a strange street because there's sidewalk the first half of it, and then it drops to nothing like mid-block up until you get to the next street over. And there's quite a bit of pedestrian traffic that goes between Davis School, the university, and then Walla Walla Valley Academy and Rogers. So this grant would be to do the final engineering and construction to go build some additional sidewalk.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right. Do we have a motion?
This is Councilmember Sherman. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 20-030, which supports a Washington State Department of Transportation Safe Routes to School grant application for the Safe Walk College Place project.
Councilmember Cleveland, I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Okay, we do have one administrative report tonight. Mr. Rizzatello.
Okay, thank you. So this proposed municipal code would be creating a diversity and inclusion advisory board. This was actually something that former Mayor Crowther and I looked into a couple of years ago, but we were busy standing up a lot of the other commissions and things. And at the time, we just didn't have the appropriate staffing for it and a lot of other programs going on. However, as events have transpired and things, and also in talking with the police department and other departments, we do feel it is time to create such a commission to essentially engage in that conversation with the community about diversity and inclusion and look at effective strategies and partnerships. This is actually borrowed off of a similar code from one of the places I worked at a couple of years ago. So Beaverton, Oregon, they stood one of those up in 2012, and since that time, a lot of cities have done that, including Linwood, Pasco. Walla Walla is looking at a form of it within their police department. This would have essentially 7 positions. Discussed this with the mayor, and she thought it was a good idea, as well as the police department. So I would welcome additional feedback from the mayor and then Chief Tamaris on this as well.
One thing that Mike and I discussed, I think as a city, we need to take the lead on this. You know, and it's going to be inclusive of different people from the community, but I would really like to see that the city takes the lead on this. I think it's really important to show our community.
Yeah, this is the chief, and I just I think it's really critical that every voice of every member of our community is heard, and this is one platform to allow that to happen and give us feedback, which is critical to serving our community. And we want to make sure we have that community trust. We don't want to lose that trust in light of some of the things that are going on and around our country and around the world. I think it's just critical we move forward on this right now.
This is Councilmember Selby. I really agree with the desperate need for this. I also think we might want to think about having a college student rep, and you know they can turn over yearly potentially, but our college students of color do face, you know, discrimination at times. I haven't seen it or heard it from the police or the city, but I know when we were doing the CARS project, and I know they're contractors, but several of them would yell racial taunts at our students. To the point I complained to Scout. But anyway, so I think it's really important that we have something like this. And I would also like to see, I guess the report is the first step, but I would like then us to take some of those steps that they recommend. So it's not just words.
Absolutely. You know, and as a city, we need to hear what's going on out there. We're seeing that so many cities that did not listen or did not have an opportunity, and what that's turned into. And I think we all would agree that we don't want, not that we're going to have any, you know, trouble, but we don't want to be one of those cities that's not hearing what our community's going through. Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, just a quick comment following up on Councilmember Selby's comments. If you ever see anything like that happening in the field, feel free to pick up the phone and give us a call. We're just a short call away from the project engineer, and he can talk directly to the contractor, and we can get that in order. So feel free to give us a call.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Thanks. And it probably would be a good idea if we, like occasionally in the mayor's letter or whatever, say, hey, you know, if you see anything like this, call us. We want to know.
Excellent. Excellent idea. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
So will there be a Councilmember Trope, a couple quick questions. First, I assume there'll be a document. I did not get a chance to read the document that's attached there. So before voting on that, I would want to read that and have some discussion about that if that's possible. Is that viable?
Well, I think the document was attached to.
Yeah, and I did not get to that, to be blunt.
Oh.
My bad.
Voting on it today.
I was trying to figure out where B Street was. But
This is only an administrative report. It's not up for action today.
No.
Right, I understand that. So all I'm pointing out is that before we act on it, I'd like to have some discussion, maybe in a workshop, so that I understand it. I think one of the things that occurs to me is, Mayor, you said something there about, you know, we've all seen the events that have happened, and at some point I'm comfortable and even supportive if the city wanted to make a statement to our community that, hey, we know what's going on in the world today. We've seen this. You know, these are the kind of actions we're taking, and we're pledging to make sure that our members are heard. You know, even to put something that overt out there in addition to a commission, to say that's something that's part of what we do. So that, you know, all I'm saying is get a chance to review a document and make sure we get a chance to do it right.
Mike, when were you thinking of bringing this to council for vote?
Really, and next time I was thinking of bringing it to council was going to be July 14th, which would be a next business meeting. But before that, you have a workshop anyway on July 7th, I believe. So
let's put that on the agenda to discuss, because I would like to get it voting at the next business meeting.
I agree. I think we have to do it fast. I did not read it before tonight. I will read it before the next meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember Trope. Ms. Colwell?
Yes, can I, Lisa and Mayor, can I be included in that workshop and participate?
Most definitely.
I think I might be able to answer some questions just about our criminal justice system.
Councilmember Peterson saying he doesn't want you there.
I'll drive the other way to City Hall.
Put him on mute.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we close this administrative report?
This is Councilmember Cleveland. I just want to say I appreciate the idea, and I think we should go full steam ahead with it. It's really important that we get feedback from the community on this subject and what their needs are.
Absolutely. All right. Ms. Sherman?
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree with what Michael just said. I feel like we all know that we try to be approachable and feel like we are. And I want to make sure that if there are people who feel like we aren't, that they all know that there are other ways that they can communicate with the city what their needs are.
Yep, great. Okay, Ms. Selby, anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, Chief Tamaris. Appreciate the feedback that you've given us.
Yeah.
All right, there are informational reports in your packet for you to review at your convenience. Are there any other business for good to the order? All right. So if we have no discussions, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I missed it, so I'll second.
Like for a minute there, I thought, or a second there, I thought everybody still wanted to stay on. Okay, so does somebody want to make a second?
I did. I'll second.
All right. If there's no objections, the meeting is adjourned at 8:24 p.m. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
later. Be safe.
Have a good evening.